All right, strap it, everyone. Today we are taking a deep dive into Heckna.
Heckner.
Which, if you haven't heard of it, it's a tabletop RPG setting.
Right.
That, I think a good way to describe it is, imagine like if David Lynch and Tim Burton got together and decided to make a tabletop RPG setting.
Okay.
And then they set it inside a carnival.
Yeah.
Run by an evil clown god.
It is definitely got that vibe. It's like walking into a nightmare,
Yeah.
but then realizing that the nightmare is actually a circus.
Yeah. And it's a fun circus, too.
Yeah, and that's, I think, one of the most interesting things about it. It takes those, like, kind of classic horror tropes, right? The creepy carnival, the unsettling clown, but it doesn't shy away from the fun aspect of it either.
Yeah.
Like, it leans into that kind of dark humor, the absurdity of it all.
Right.
And that's reflected not just in the setting itself, but in the mechanics of the game, too.
Okay, so let's, so we've got this, like, setting, right?
Yeah.
And then we've got this evil clown god, Heckna.
Heckna, the ringleader of it all.
So what's his deal?
Well, he's not just some random evil clown, right? He's like this powerful entity. He rules over this pocket dimension called the Revelia, which is basically his own personal playground. It's where he gets to warp reality, twist the laws of physics, and basically just mess with people for his own amusement.
So it's his domain.
Yeah, it's like if you took the Upside Down from Stranger Things, right? But instead of demogorgons, you've got like killer clowns and haunted carousel horses.
And like tons of confetti.
Oh, tons of confetti. Always confetti.
Okay, so we're in Heckna's domain. We're in the Revelia.
Yeah.
Are we playing by his rules then?
Pretty much. He sets the stage, creates the challenges, and decides who stays and who, well, doesn't.
So what happens if you don't play by his rules?
Let's just say you don't want to find out. Heckna's not exactly known for his mercy. He's like a mix of Pennywise from IT,
Yeah.
the Badoker from, Batman, and then maybe a little dash of Loki thrown in there for good measure. Cunning, chaotic, and absolutely terrifying.
So he's not someone you want to mess with.
Nope. You definitely don't want to end up on his bad side. And that's what makes the setting so compelling.
Okay.
You're constantly on edge trying to survive in this world where the rules are constantly changing, and the guy in charge is a literal clown god with a twisted sense of humor.
So we've got this creepy clown god, this pocket dimension, where reality is basically a suggestion. What else can players expect when they enter this setting? What kind of stuff are they going to come up against?
Well, there's this thing called clown corruption.
Okay.
Imagine the rage virus, right? From 28 Days Later.
Yep.
But instead of turning people into mindless rage monsters, it like slowly warps their mind and personality.
Okay.
It twists them into these like devoted followers of Heckna.
So it's like a mental and emotional hijacking.
It is. It's like it starts small, right? Maybe you develop a craving for cotton candy.
Okay.
You start talking in these weird rhymes and puns. But it gets progressively worse until you're basically a puppet dancing to Heckna's tune.
Oh, that is super creepy. I'm already getting chills.
Yeah.
And the world itself, so we've got this like disease, right, this corruption. What about just the world? What's it like?
It's weird. It's a total clash of aesthetics. Like, you might find a medieval carnival tent next to a futuristic arcade machine.
Okay.
Or a steampunk automaton serving cotton candy.
So it's like all these different eras, all these different like genres kind of mashed together.
It's like someone took a blender and threw in everything from Brazil to Mad Max to like a Cirque du Soleil show.
So you're telling me I could see a knight fighting a robot while a steam-powered carousel plays distorted carnival music in the background.
Absolutely. That's the kind of vibe we're talking about here. And let's not forget the language. They speak this corrupted carnival slang called gobbledygook.
Gobbledygook?
Gobbledygook.
What's that like?
Imagine, like, pig Latin meets Cockney rhyming slang with a generous dose of gibberish thrown in. It's like the nadsat from A Clockwork Orange, but with a carnival twist.
So you're not just fighting off creepy creatures and trying not to get corrupted, you're also trying to decipher this crazy language.
Exactly. It adds a whole other layer to the game. You might be able to fight your way out of a sticky situation, but can you talk your way out of it?
I love it. So we've got this creepy, chaotic world, this terrifying clown god, this language that sounds like it was invented by a drunken circus performer.
Yeah, pretty much.
What about the actual gameplay? Does this all, like, follow standard D&D rules?
It's based on D&D 5e, but with some major tweaks.
Like what?
Well, for starters, certain spells just straight up don't work in the Revelia. Like, anything that relies on extra-dimensional travel, banishment, plane shift, that kind of thing, they just fizzle out.
So no easy escape routes.
Nope, you're stuck in Heckna's playground. You have to play by his rules.
So no teleporting out of trouble or summoning interdimensional allies.
You gotta get creative if you want to survive in this place.
So it's more about, like, I'm imagining it's almost like a survival horror game where you really have to manage your resources.
Exactly.
And think carefully about, like, what your next move is going to be.
And you can't rely on the same tactics that might work in a regular D&D setting.
Right.
You know, you can't just hack and slash your way through every problem. You got to think outside the box, be adaptable, be resourceful.
I like it. So we're talking survival, we're talking adaptability, we're talking resource management. But we can't forget about role-playing.
Oh, absolutely.
Because role-playing is like a huge part of D&D.
Yeah.
So how does Heckna encourage that? How does it, like, really help players lean into their characters?
Well, they've got some really cool character options.
Like what?
Like, there's the ran away to the circus background.
Okay.
Which lets you create characters with skills like juggling, acrobatics, natural talent for entertaining crowds.
So you're not just like some random adventurer who stumbled into this crazy carnival world.
No.
You're someone who is like part of that world.
Yeah, you could have been a trapeze artist, a fire eater, a clown. You know, you've got that background, that experience.
I love it.
And that feeds into your character's personality, their motivations, their skills.
Right.
And then there's like the cosmic jester patron for warlocks.
Okay.
Which lets you draw your magical power directly from Heckna himself.
So you're making a deal with the devil, but the devil is a clown.
Pretty much, but instead of selling your soul, you're sacrificing your sanity for a taste of that chaotic power.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, so we've got these unique character options.
Yeah.
But it all boils down to survival. Right? Like, at the end of the day, you're trying to survive in this crazy pocket dimension.
Survival is key, but it's not just about fighting monsters and looting treasure.
Okay.
You need to understand the rules of the Revelia, the whims of its ruler, and you need to be able to adapt to the constantly changing circumstances.
Okay, so how do you do that? How do you navigate this carnival of chaos?
That's where things get really interesting. The Revelia is divided into 4 main sections.
Okay.
The forest, the jamboree, the dismadium, and the funhouse.
And these are like different areas within the Revelia?
Exactly. Each one has its own unique flavor of madness, its own set of challenges and encounters.
And are they, like, progressively more dangerous?
Let's just say the further you go, the weirder and the more dangerous things get.
Gotcha. Okay, so you've got to navigate these different areas.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you have to worry about? Like, is Heckna just going to let you wander around willy-nilly?
Oh, no, he's always watching. He's got these animated posters all over the Revelia.
Posters?
Yeah, like those old-timey circus posters. But they're animated. They're like his eyes and ears.
So they can, like, come to life.
Oh, yeah. Imagine a grinning clown poster suddenly staring you down, its eyes following your every move.
So you're never really alone. Heckna's always watching.
Always watching. Always judging, always looking for a good laugh, even if that laugh is at your expense.
It sounds intense.
It is, but it's also a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah, if you like a little bit of horror,
Yeah.
a little bit of dark humor, a little bit of the absurd, then Heckna might just be the game for you.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about the man, the myth, the clown god himself, Heckna. What more can you tell us about this enigmatic ringleader?
Well, he's like the embodiment of chaotic energy, you know, a puppet master who gets his kicks from the suffering and amusement of others, a master manipulator always pulling strings, setting up these elaborate games to see how people react under pressure.
So he's not just some, like, mindless monster. There's, like, a real intelligence behind his actions.
Right.
A twisted sense of purpose.
Yeah, exactly. He's not just about random acts of violence or cruelty. There's a method to his madness, a calculated approach to his chaos. And that's what makes him so terrifying. You never know what he's going to do next, but you know it's going to be bad. Like a cosmic game of Would You Rather, but with much higher stakes.
Yeah, it's giving me, like, some real, like, Pennywise vibes from IT, right?
Oh, definitely.
Like that unpredictable nature of the Joker from the Batman comics and movies. And then maybe even like a dash of Loki from the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, the trickster god.
Yeah, with his penchant for like mischief and trickery.
That's a pretty good assessment, honestly. He's got the terrifying presence of Pennywise, the chaotic unpredictability of the Joker, and the cunning trickery of Loki. All wrapped up in, you know, a brightly colored clown suit.
Yeah. Okay, so we kind of get what he's like, but what makes him tick? What's his end game?
Well, the source material suggests that he feeds off laughter, but not just any laughter.
Okay.
He wants the laughter of despair, the kind of that comes from, like, witnessing the absurd and the horrific. He wants to see people pushed to their breaking point, forced to confront the darkest parts of themselves and laugh in the face of it all.
Yeah, that's messed up. It's like he's a cosmic stand-up comedian getting his kicks from watching people like squirm and suffer.
Yeah, it's dark, it's twisted, and it's exactly what you'd expect from a godlike entity who's chosen to embody the persona of a clown. And the more chaotic and unpredictable the situation, the more he seems to enjoy it. He's like a kid with an anthill, always poking and prodding, seeing what happens.
Yeah, okay, so you're not just trying to escape the Revelia.
No.
You're also trying to, like, survive his twisted sense of humor.
Exactly. It's a constant game of survival, a battle of wits against a being who can warp reality itself. You need to be one step ahead of him, always anticipating his next move, always trying to figure out what he's really after.
So it's more than just a dungeon crawl.
Oh, much more. It's like a cosmic game of chess with a jester as your opponent.
And you mentioned earlier about how Heckna kind of like tweaks the traditional D&D rules in some interesting ways.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you give us some of the specific examples of how the game mechanics are adapted to fit like this unique setting?
Yeah. So as we said before, certain spells just don't work in the Revelia, right? Like spells that rely on extra dimension travel, banishment, plane shift, that kind of stuff. Totally useless.
Okay.
Heckna's got the place locked down tight. No easy escapes. No calling for help from outside.
So you're trapped.
You are trapped in his playground, and you got to play by his rules.
Okay.
And the source material also kind of hints that magic in general is a bit more unpredictable in the Revelia.
Unpredictable.
Spells might backfire, have unexpected side effects, or even like mutate into something totally different. It's like the weave of magic itself is frayed and twisted in this place.
So you can't just rely on your spells to save you, huh?
You got to be adaptable, resourceful, and maybe a little bit lucky. It's almost like a roguelike video game in that way, where every playthrough is different and you got to be ready for anything.
Yeah, I like it. So magic is unreliable. Escaping is basically impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else we need to watch out for?
Well, then you've got the currency of the Revelia, red tickets.
Red ticket.
Yeah, they look like those, those tickets you get at an arcade, right? The ones you trade in for prizes.
Yeah.
But in the Revelia, they're the only way to get, like, essential goods and services. Healing potions, food, information, that kind of stuff.
So you're basically playing a giant carnival game.
Kind of, yeah. You got to earn those tickets by participating in Heckna's games, completing his tasks, or even, by betraying your fellow adventurers.
Betraying your friends. Seriously.
Yeah, Heckna loves that stuff. It's all part of his twisted game, seeing who's willing to do what to survive.
That's messed up.
It's totally messed up, but it creates these really interesting moral dilemmas for the players, right? Do you hold on to your tickets and risk your own well-being, or do you help out a friend and risk running out when you need them most?
Yeah, that's a tough choice.
Right. It forces you to think about your priorities, your loyalties, and what you're willing to sacrifice to survive. And that's just one example of the kind of ethical quandaries you face in the Revelia. It's a place where your morals are constantly being tested, and every choice you make has consequences.
So it's like a constant moral tug-of-war.
Exactly. And just when you think you figured things out, Heckna throws another curveball your way.
So we've got this hostile environment, this messed up currency system, and a clown god who's almost one step ahead. How do you even begin to survive in a place like this? Like, what's the strategy here?
Honestly, the key is to embrace the chaos. You got to learn to think like Heckna, anticipate his moves, turn his own tricks against him. It's like playing poker with a master bluffer.
So it's not about brute force or following the traditional RPG playbook.
Nope. Heckna rewards those who are willing to think differently, to use their creativity, their cunning, and their sense of humor to outsmart the system.
So you're saying that the key to survival in Heckna is to basically become a little bit of a clown yourself.
Maybe not a full-blown clown, but you got to be able to roll with the punches, adapt to the unexpected, and maybe even crack a joke or two in the face of danger. And the source material actually gives us some hints about how players can actually win this twisted game.
Win. So you're saying there's a way to actually beat Heckna at his own game.
It mentions 3 potential endings to a Heckna campaign. You can try to defeat him outright, which is, a pretty tall order considering he's a reality-bending entity with a penchant for chaos. It's like trying to fight a god.
Yeah, it sounds pretty daunting. What are the other options?
You could try to escape the Revelia altogether, find a way to breach the boundaries of his pocket dimension, and return to the material plane.
But we already talked about how escaping is basically impossible.
Well, it's highly unlikely, but not technically impossible. The source material doesn't give us any specifics, but it does suggest that it would require some, serious magical mojo and a whole lot of luck, like finding a hidden portal, deciphering an ancient prophecy, or maybe even striking a bargain with a being even more powerful than Heckna himself.
Okay, so we've got 2 options. Defeat the godlike clown or escape his reality-bending prison. What's the third one, the one that's maybe a bit more morally ambiguous?
Ah, yes, the third option. This one's a bit more complicated. It involves embracing the chaos, joining Heckna's carnival, and becoming a part of his twisted court.
You're saying you could side with Heckna, become one of his creepy, confetti-loving followers?
It's an option, albeit a morally challenging one. It's like those stories where the hero is tempted by the dark side, offered power and immortality in exchange for their soul. It's a classic trope.
But why would anyone choose that?
Well, think about it. In a world of constant chaos and terror, Heckna's Carnival can seem like a haven. A place where the rules are clear, the rewards are tangible, and you're always in on the joke, even if it's a twisted one.
Yeah, I guess I could see the appeal. Like, if you can't beat him, join him, right?
It's not just about survival, though. There's also the allure of power. Heckna is a powerful entity. Those who serve him gain access to his magic, his influence. They become part of the ruling class, shaping the fate of the Revelia and its inhabitants.
So it's a trade-off. Power and security in exchange for your humanity. It's a theme we see in so many stories, but it's one thing to read about it in a book or watch it in a movie. It's another thing entirely to experience it firsthand in a role-playing game where you're making those choices, living with the consequences.
And that's what makes Heckna so compelling. It's not just a game, it's a mirror reflecting our own inner struggles, our moral dilemmas. It forces us to confront our values and ask ourselves, what would we do in the face of unimaginable chaos and temptation?
So what does it all mean? Why should players choose to enter Heckna's Twisted Carnival? What makes it such a compelling setting?
Heckna offers something truly unique in the world of tabletop RPGs. It's a chance to step outside the traditional fantasy tropes, to explore a world where the rules are constantly changing, where danger lurks around every corner, and where your choices have real weight and consequences. It's a chance to laugh in the face of terror, to challenge your assumptions about what a tabletop RPG can be, and to create stories that will stay with you long after the dice have stopped rolling.
Well said. Well said. All right, so we've explored this crazy world of, twisted carnivals and this clown god who, feeds on despair. But what about those potential endings that you mentioned?
Right.
What are the options facing players?
So you've got 3 basic paths you can take.
Okay.
First, you could try to defeat Heckna, straight up, classic hero's journey, free the Revelia from his grasp.
But we talked about this before. Heckna's not just some,
Right.
orc warlord or whatever. He's he can warp reality.
Exactly. He's a reality-bending entity. Taking him down, it would be I don't even know. It would be like trying to fight a force of nature.
Yeah.
You'd need some serious firepower, a whole lot of luck, probably a really good plan.
Yeah, it's giving me Avengers Endgame vibes, but with more clowns.
Exactly. You'd need to assemble the most badass group of adventurers imaginable, equip them with legendary artifacts, and even then, victory's not guaranteed.
So you're saying it's possible, but really, really hard.
Yeah, it's the high-risk, high-reward option.
Okay, so what about the second option?
Right, escaping the Revelia.
Which, again, we've discussed. It's basically impossible.
Well, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Remember, we're talking about a pocket dimension here, a self-contained reality that exists outside the normal laws of space and time.
So it would be like trying to, I don't know, break out of a prison designed by Dr. Strange.
Yeah, you'd need more than just lockpicks and a good plan. You'd need to exploit some kind of fundamental flaw in the fabric of the Revelia itself.
Like a loophole in the cosmic code or something.
Yeah, maybe you got to find some ancient artifact or decipher some cryptic prophecy. It would definitely be a long shot, but hey, stranger things have happened.
Okay, so we've got defeat the clown god, escape his crazy dimension.
Right.
What's the third option?
The third path is the one that leads to a more, how should I put this? A more complicated ending. It involves embracing the chaos, joining Heckna's carnival, becoming a part of his twisted court.
Whoa, hold on. You're saying you could side with Heckna?
Yeah, it's an option, a morally challenging one, but an option nonetheless. It's like in those stories, right, where the hero's tempted by the dark side, offered power, immortality, all that, but at a cost.
So you're basically trading your soul for a front row seat at the craziest show in the multiverse.
Pretty much. You're giving up your humanity, your morals, everything that makes you you to become one of Heckna's puppets.
That's heavy, man. But why would anyone choose that? Like, what's the appeal of siding with this cosmic jester of doom?
Well, in a world of constant chaos and terror, Heckna's carnival can seem like a kind of haven, right? Like the rules are clear, the rewards are tangible, and you're always in on the joke, even if it's a twisted one. Plus, there's the power. Heckna's a powerful entity. Those who serve him, they gain access to his magic, his influence.
So you're basically selling out for a taste of power and a twisted sense of belonging. It's a classic Faustian bargain.
It is, and it's a choice that players will have to grapple with. Do they hold on to their principles, even if it means facing unimaginable danger? Or do they compromise their values for a chance at survival and maybe even a little bit of power?
It's like a real moral dilemma, and I think that's what makes Heckna so unique. It's not just about rolling dice and killing monsters. It's about exploring these really complex themes, these moral choices that we all face in our own lives. Just maybe not on such a grand cosmic scale.
Yeah, exactly. Heckna is a game that makes you think, makes you question your own values, and maybe even makes you laugh at the absurdity of it all.
Well said. Well said. So you've got these three potential endings. What does it all mean? Why should players choose to enter this world?
Because Heckna offers something truly unique. It's a chance to step outside the traditional fantasy tropes, to explore a world where the rules are constantly changing, where danger lurks around every corner, and where your choices have real weight and consequences. It's a chance to laugh in the face of terror, to challenge your assumptions about what a tabletop RPG can be, and to create stories that will stay with you long after the dice have stopped rolling.
I love it. So if you're tired of the same old elves and dragons, orcs and dungeons, if you're looking for something truly different, something that will challenge you both as a player and as a person, then Heckna might be the game for you.
Just be prepared to embrace the chaos.
And maybe bring a spare pair of pants.
Yeah, you'll probably need those.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of Heckna. Hopefully we've answered some questions.
Yeah.
And maybe inspired you to
Yeah.
check out this